All right, we're gonna get started. This is the first innovative blast. How many
We have
we
three.
have three different presentations, kind of varying in time, and Skagit is first. So I'm Taylor. I work at Skagit CD. I do a lot, but my title is conservation specialist. And can everyone hear me with the fans? It's kind of nice to have the fan on. Okay. And so this is my innovative blast. It's a little funky because it hasn't happened yet, but I'm going to talk about what we're going to do. And it's really focusing on like underserved communities, and for us specifically, that's the Latino community. And this is a partnership with Whatcom and Snohomish as well. And so so 20% of our Skagit population is Latino, and it's not just from Mexico. We have a lot of Central America, and not even we have three different types of Spanish, like Mixteco. So even when you're translating things into Spanish, it's still not getting to that population. So it kind of all started. We want to help these people get into our program. So the food systems grant from 2022. I don't know if anyone else. So it's just like a little $5,000. And I got it, and I translated some of our materials. And I also said, hey, I'm going to use half of it and just fund this grow your own groceries course through WSU. And I just heard they were all used by some Latino community group. And that was mine. And Whatcom, on the other hand, decided to kind of get the gears rolling, and they did a meet and greet. Very casual get together with some Latino farmers, and they invited me. And so a little bit about that is it was at a restaurant. So I'm just going to kind of not really go into it totally, but kind of the takeaways that we got from that. It was on a weekday or a weekend, so it needs to be time accessible. They had childcare. They had a little kids table. It was just adorable, and they had little farm colors. Food was huge, so we actually all just sat around a table and shared a meal. It's so nice. They all got stipends for going. I can't remember how much that was, but we also had to have live interpretation, and that was really, really important because some of them did not speak English. So for that one specifically, they were talking about just farm planning. And so they put the relevant programs in here because none of them were farmers. So they weren't like, oh yeah, we're gonna, use your farm planning. But it was nice because they said, hey, now that we know this, we're gonna tell our friends and other people we think could benefit. So I'm gonna credit everyone already doing this work. So Whatcom, their meet and greet here CD, which I will talk about soon. They had kind of created this cultural ambassador program that we'll be using. Viva Farms, Northwest Agricultural Business Center, NRCS, and Latinos in Action. And so I'm crediting NRCS because this is an NRCS grant that we were awarded 2 year, and it started in February. So just getting going, but you can read that pretty well. But so we kind of read that, and we're like, I think we could basically poster these meet and greets into a bigger 3-county campaign, and kind of create some hopefully different programs out of it, more ways to engage with this community in an appropriate way. So these are kind of the building blocks of what we're doing. And I copied and pasted what we have in our deliveries. So our goal one is to kind of create those relationships. And that's the last presentation, it's like community sparks or something. Like there's always these different ways to say it. The trusted messengers, cultural ambassadors, like just the people in the community that know everyone and they look up to. And we're going to do that by posting a focus group or meet and greet. Kind of like Whatcom's, so it's going to be on a much bigger scale. We're all having our own. And so now I'll kind of introduce the second part of this, which is the community needs. And we're going to be using a cultural ambassador. So this is where here CD comes in. we're gonna actually hire someone from hopefully those groups or those focus groups. That would be ideal to kind of help us communicate with them. And it's, we're excited to pop over fast. Yeah. So this is just an example. I know every other county would probably need to do something else, but $40 an hour felt right. Max 30 hours a month and then 10 to 12 month contracts. So I'll essentially have someone working with me and developing this plan. So once we have them, they're gonna, and we're not really sure. I'm just saying, you know, an engagement plan. Oh no. Is that okay? Yeah. They're gonna help us create, and so it'll look different for Whatcom, Snohomish, and Skagit, which is what's kind of cool. We don't. There's talk right now that we might try to get these cultural ambassadors before the focus group. So I'll have to report back. I think that would probably be really helpful to help us plan it. Yeah, okay. But so right now, where we're at, we have created kind of a blank partner email where we're introducing ourselves to the project, and we're going to be sending this out to all those other communities to get us going. And then focus groups, I just wanted to point out like the little tidbits of what that entails. We budgeted for 25 people to attend, and each of those people will get a $50 stipend. And we also budgeted to have it catered or just have it at a restaurant. And that'll be like 1 to 2 hours. So it seemed to work really well for Whatcom. And then kind of the outcomes and the actual deliverables that we're working under is an engagement plan. This is pretty broad. We don't really have parameters on it, which is very nice. So it might be, hey, all your stuff needs to be translated to English, or there's no programs that they want to enroll in. So we're hoping that that kind of helps us decide, because Skagit doesn't have any like bid of bonds to lettuce, I think is what it is, or so like maybe something like that is what we need. And then I wanted to point out that there was an implementation side to this, but we didn't get the funding. So unfortunately, we can't kind of test it out in the field. But I'm hoping that maybe I'll come back in 2 years and share with you guys what we find. I think a lot of it can go across county and might be pretty simple, but yeah, that's kind of it. I just wanted to cue everyone in that's happening, and hopefully we'll get some cool stuff out. Yeah, and if you have any questions, I can answer. Yeah. Oh yeah. Yep. I didn't see that. Yeah. Seems pretty like parallel to what we're doing. Yeah. Okay. Thanks. Like that there, that probably would be better. And then I'm just gonna go goodbye. That's all I did. Yeah. Everyone.
Sharing problems.
Thanks. So there's 20, yeah. Oh. Okay, I'm Marina Smith. I work with the King Conservation District as a community agriculture coordinator. And Madeline invited me to talk about our education collaboration. So thanks for having me. This is our little logo. Let's grow something great together. Oh, did I mess it up? Okay, there. I mentioned I'm Marina Smith, the community agriculture coordinator, and we're a team of two with around project boards around here somewhere with our community agriculture specialists there before. And I just want to start with a brief overview of community agriculture in King County and our program. So King County, having Seattle, a lot of urban areas, we're really lucky to have a lot of great urban agriculture, community agriculture. We have over 120 community agriculture partners throughout King County. And that's not counting the 91 key patches that are in Seattle alone that are managed by the city of Seattle. So just huge number of community gardens. And kind of what we mean by community agriculture partner or project is anything from a school garden, church garden, orchards, communal farms, nonprofits, giving gardens, and more. Any operation where people are coming together to grow for the benefit of the community. And this map kind of shows the distribution of those. And they're growing everything from fruit, vegetables, herbs, quality of plant, a lot of food for donation. And even though we have this really great wealth of these garden projects, there's still really high demand, which we saw increase during COVID as well. But you can see years-long wait lists in some parts of Seattle. So there's still a high demand for more of these. So why is community agriculture so important, or why is it so popular? I really like this graphic that kind of shows the multifaceted benefits of community gardens and how it kind of reaches out into every aspect of our lives. Some of the main benefits of community agriculture are building strong communities, making fresh local produce accessible, beautifying our neighborhoods, promoting healthy lifestyles, both nutritionally and via exercise, and promoting environmental stewardship. So, really love this graphic. If you like Google well-being community garden trees, you can find it with the full research paper. So highly recommend that. But why do we at KCD support community agriculture, and how does it align with our mission, vision, and values? Number one, to protect water quality and urban soil health, our kind of urban natural resources, supporting urban pollinator corridors, bolstering food security and sovereignty, and addressing environmental disparities and barriers to land access. And that beautiful canvas flower up on the right-hand side, the indigenous food front. And these are the supports we provide as a community agriculture program. So we have culturally relevant plant starts, compost, cover crop seeds, all free. Our small seed money grant to both help new community gardens start and for community gardens to implement best management practices, soil contaminant testing, technical assistance,
And what we'll all be focusing on today is our education. And kind of throughout all of this is network building, community building, connecting these projects to each other, and providing that kind of structural support. So we partner really closely with our amazing education team to provide different kind of formal and informal educational offerings. So last year we started our first community garden tour, community agriculture tours, kind of an expansion of our existing farm tours. We're going to go out to community garden sites. Usually they're focused on a particular practice or theme. And then we really let the gardener there be the one instructing, showing us, what they're doing, their methods, their challenges, and then really encouraging that space for community gardeners to learn from and with one another, which is really the goal of our education. Community gardens kind of provide this great space where they already have the buy-in, the people, the facilities right there to kind of just facilitate that learning transfer of knowledge. So then down here, it's from last fall, we had an orchard tour at the short garden in Urian. You'll see a lot of me talking in these pictures, but we do mostly have the gardeners talk as well, and then we kind of provide the tours as well. We do a few community garden tours a year, and then we also offer kind of a soil 101 workshop that we bring out into the field. It's an expansion of our farm planner soil talk series, but kind of our field version where I bring this fun flip chart that weighs a lot out to the field and kind of do that soil 101 talk at that garden. Bring as many people as you want, be like 5 people, 10 people, whatever, ask your questions. It makes it easier for them, in the place where they are. Coming up this summer, we're excited to host our Washington Water Resilience Food Tour Series, which is beyond just King County. So we have coming up on July 23rd, we're hosting a water conservation for the urban garden tour at the UW Farm in Seattle. And then we're also partnering with the Outback Farm in Bellingham, Carnation Farm, or Aqua Farm Carnation, 21 acres, as well as the Dry Farming Institute in OSU, Oregon State University, to kind of share about this opportunity and promote dry farming and water resilient practices, both for the urban gardener as well as farmers and eaters as well. One of these 21 acres is focused on eaters, and you can see our logo, our little caption, save water, boost flavor. So we're going to be sampling dry farm tomatoes. So you should come. And if you're planning a water conservation or dry farming event in your area, you should let us know. We can add you to the flyer, maybe. I didn't make it, but we can add you to the flyer and spread the word. But this really came out of a lot on our end, a lot of community gardeners not having access to water, trying to, start a community garden, but it's not access to water, which is very challenging. And just, having questions, being concerned about how to use less water. So we connected with the UW Farm, and then there are all these other partners who are interested. So it's just great connection building, this beautiful flyer and more outreach about it. Another big, education topic that we're focused on right now is soil contaminant testing, which is an expansion of our kind of typical soil testing program, which tests, for soil nutrients, pH, and everything. But since I started just a couple years ago, there's been a lot of concern and questions from community gardeners in King County, especially in Seattle, about potential contaminants where they're growing. Where parts of King County are in the Snohomish melter plume area, which plus legacy lead and arsenic in our soils. So we decided to expand our soil testing services. We're lead and arsenic testing for free for community gardeners. But we wanted to do that really intentionally because it's also kind of can be a controversial topic and one that has a lot of fear around it at times. So we wanted to build out a lot of education support around that as well. So before we kind of launched this, we created resources on soil contaminants and what to do, kind of some guidance on, you know, if you find potential contaminants in your soil. And when we were doing this as well, we kind of realized we also needed to make these accessible. So we were able to translate some of our basic soil testing resources. I'll pass this around as well. And then we also created this beautiful handout for how to interpret your soil test results. And we got translated into different languages as well. So we kind of started there with our different resources, making it accessible to folks, making sure kind of we had that support once they got their results. I'll pass these around if anyone wants to look at them. And kind of along with that as well, we're offering workshops, being able to go out and help community gardeners take those soil samples in the field, which was kind of our first step. And we were like, this is great. We send them up to the lab and then we send them their results and they're like, what do I do with this? So then we expanded it to workshops on how to interpret those results as well. And we just hosted a talk last week with King County Dirt Alert, who came out to the garden to talk more specifically about the Tacoma self-consuming contaminants, which was super helpful. And then also kind of out of this as well, we translated a lot of these documents, which was great. And I hope they're being used. It's kind of hard to tell. But we also heard from some of our partner gardens. We work a lot with the International Rescue Committee, who have like 5 amazing gardens throughout King County that, you know, any written form of this information is not super helpful to a lot of their gardens. Maybe have limited literacy. So with that input, we also created a soil testing video, which is what this is from, on how to take a soil sample. So if you want to share that also with people you work with, CD, YouTube channel, soil, how to take a soil sample. And there's Madeline. And then we also do a lot of education around cover crops and compost and on a community garden scale, kind of best management practices at the urban agriculture scale, especially with cover crops. I've seen a lot of, you know, maybe farmers understand this and it's like kind of typical, but on the smaller scale, there's kind of more confusion around it. We're like, how to scale this down to your community garden, your specific you know, area. So we created a cool cover crop video last year on how to use cover crops in your community garden, in your small garden. Also encourage you to check that out if you're interested. We also hosted a compost tour at City Soil Farm last year, which is a really great kind of partner farm that King County runs in tandem with the Renton wastewater treatment plant. So they use the recycled composted biosolid product to grow food there. We were burying some fish guts to see how that would break down, which was really fun. We kind of exploring different composting methods. And a lot of our technical assistance as well, kind of, you know, overlaps with this education space. But we provide TA to community gardens to support best management practices and project implementation. And sometimes, you know, this one-on-one support turns into spur of the moment workshops, like where we showed up at this garden to do columnar apple pruning. That was only going to be a couple of people, but then it ended up being like 15 or so, which is great. but kind of being responsive to community needs, seeing where we can help, meeting them. So did Colonial Street Pruning and Snohomish Tribal Community Garden. And last year we hosted garden classes at St. Luke's Elementary School, helping them plant these garden beds. Really cute, every grade has their garden bed. And then the last garden bed construction at Mike Center Heights Elementary School, helping them install their community garden project there. And kind of in support of the technical assistance, or these two kind of go hand in hand, is our seed money grant, which I mentioned before, but this provides, I don't know why it looks like that, sorry. But it provides funding and support both to either to start a brand new community garden or an existing community garden to implement best management practices like raised beds, which state housing up here did at their low income housing sites. Drip irrigation, which the one Tea Garden did down here. Drip irrigation in pollinator planting. NLK made garden in Seattle with Lexar farmers. Also, made raised garden beds. So the seed money grants are really designed to help, bring that education to the ground, be able to fund these practices that we're promoting and talking about. And I'll leave you with this kind of food for thought of the continued challenges for community gardens. These are kind of what I see day to day. Land access for sure, leadership. Being a community garden leader can be really lonely, and we're hoping to do more programming and around supporting those leaders, and those leaders being able to connect with each other, which I know PeerCD does a lot of. Funding and resources, of course, is always fun. Theft and vandalism, water and irrigation, which kind of spurred on our water conservation series, and climate change and the effects of that. And we're always, trying to adapt our education and our offerings based off of community needs. We applied for NACD grant this year that we will hear about soon. That's working with our partners at the International Rescue Committee to provide more specific education for the garden leaders and the gardeners there. They include some focus groups to kind of identify needs and barriers, and then implementing workshops to try to address things. That's it. Thank you for listening. Here's my contact information, or if you have questions. Questions? Yeah, so we don't grow any of them anymore, thank goodness. We partner with the Tilt Alliance, which is like based in Seattle, but serves a lot of Washington, all of Washington. The Tilt Alliance, and then we partner with a really amazing farmer in Snohomish, Jim Eichner at the Food Bank Farm, who grows tons, like 3,000 plant starts for us. So between the two of them, we were able to community gardens, send us their orders every in January-ish, and then actually right now we're working on distributing it out for free. So it's really great if it's growing every year. You guys have your community 2016. Yeah, 2016. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I joined 2 years ago. Before that, there was like a gap of a year-ish where the position was unfilled, so we've been in the shape. Any other questions? Thank you all.
It's not shared, so let me check. Yeah. So it's still enough, because then voters and vote on this. Perfect.
Hi, everyone. I'm Chelsea Trout. I'm the Green Jobs Coordinator for PEI, Civic Education Institute. And some of you kind of know who we are. So I work statewide and manage a summer program called Youth PEI Sustainable Systems. Do some other stuff too, but that's what we're going to talk about today. And I know we don't have a ton of time, so I'm going to focus in on that. And I'm super lucky to partner with Alana today. She actually ran one of our programs in Snohomish last summer. Thank you. And a lot of you saw that.
My name is Alana Springer. I'm the Snohomish Conservation District. I run I'm the Environmental Education Program Manager, and I was the main person coordinating our YES program that we hosted summer of 2023.
I thought I'd do a little quick overview of what PEI is and where we are. Since I live in Wenatchee, but our main office is actually in Olympia. And we have regional people all over the state. So if you're kind of like, well, that field sim stuff seems really cool, but maybe you don't work with high school programs very often, which is what I mostly focus on. We do have people regionally that can connect with you to kind of maybe beef up some things you're already doing, or if you're really interested in getting professional learning for your staff, we can really help with that too. And you can reach out to me to find those people. I don't expect you to read all of those names from here. So our field study model is kind of thinking of everything that you would do in environmental education lesson and move it up to another barrier. Breaking down the barriers of culture and integrating that and ELA into those. So thinking if you've ever worked with Project Learning Tree or Project Learning Wild, it's not like that, but integrating all of these things into all of the work that the school districts are already doing. So if they're in 5th grade, maybe they do project-based, place-based learning, and they take all of this and they take some wet and wild lessons and throw it in, but they're actually working with community partners and going on site with people as well. Okay, so what is youth aid and sustainable systems? Yes for yes. So right now, and things are changing, I'll talk about this a little bit later, but right now, the past several years, it's been running as a summer program. So it's 5 to 6 weeks long for high schoolers. So ages 14, 17, maybe 18, depending on where they're at in school. And they get high school credit and they get paid. So it's like a summer job for them. And maybe they're kids that don't do super well sitting behind a desk at school. But during the summer, they spend maybe about 40% of the time in the classroom learning with their teacher.
And the rest of the time, they're actually out in the field with natural resource professionals. So the program Lana is going to talk about was restoration ecology. So they're going out and actually learning how to correctly remove the blackberry and thinking about what do we need to bring in and identify native plants and what do I want to plan on to actually bring in plants to this space at a later date. We focus on districts that are historically underserved. So we're trying to reach those kids that naturally would have a harder time figuring out where they want to be after they graduate from high school. So they're meeting a lot of people, they're getting peer skills, they are learning how to walk up to someone and shake their hand and introduce themselves. And they're learning that maybe they can't stay up until 2 a.m. playing video games every night because, oh crap, I be out in the field all day. I might be tired, right? I kind of talked about this, and something else that's really important to this is that we also help provide funding or work with a community partner per se to provide funding or find some funding somewhere to help those kids have gear. Because we expect them not to know what pants to wear, what clothes to wear, or excuse me, wear a hat, my allergies are really bad this time of year. And know that they need boots to be out in the field all day. So we're helping them gear up. What does it look like to be a natural resource professional? And we're recognizing also that in our field, there's a lot of people retiring and we need a lot of people going into those positions. So we're helping those kids kind of go back after as well. Something that hasn't happened quite yet, but it looks like the Yakima program is going to happen next summer is if kids are taking it for a second year, which their program has reached that point, they're going to get college credit in the preschool as well with it too. So it's kind of connected in that way. And that document of competency that's written up there is a piece of paper with all the skills that the kids learned over the summer, and their teacher writes little comments and signs off on it, and the community partner helps with that too. And then the kids have to take that with them as part of their resume. So maybe they just graduated high school and they want to go fight fire over the summer. Or maybe they're applying to other jobs. Or maybe they're trying to get into that one specific school or university program because they got really excited about something that they learned about. And hopefully this is going to work. It's a super short 30-second videos and video testimonials in our Yakima program last year. I think I remember. We do not have sound.
We graduate opportunity to learn how to properly communicate with like important information that want to be with other peers.
I really wanted to get some good field experience and work out in the field and also connecting with people that are in the field and working with community tools.
Some job skills I'm hoping to learn that will eventually be my next career is working with other people, and because I have a lot of job environments, it's required. And if you get that another age, you'll be able to adapt more frequently.
I realized that that's kind of the beginning before they did the program, but I chose that purposely because that last student that showed up this summer, he got asked to join the S program again. He was a second-year student, which their program is doing for have a couple of leaders in the group. But he got a job as a campus deadly counselor at his local YMCA camp. And he figured out that he really likes to be outside, and he's going to be the campus counselor for this summer. And I met him. He's very, very outgoing, and so he's going to be great under months. I kind of put a little bit of this, but this is kind of you're having a meeting with us and say, what does it actually take to do the S program? This is the slide I'm going to show you. So he will be in the planning team, and I'll be there with you throughout the whole process for all of our gift programs and during the whole process. We give the teacher a $1,500 stipend because we realize that there's a lot of extra planning that they do during the school year before they actually teach the course over the summer. And we make sure that we're aligning to OSPI and all the statewide things that need to align to. And something else that we unfortunately didn't have funding for this year, we really are planning on doing again in the future, is bringing community partners and the teachers together for a few days before all the programs start and talking about
what does it look like? What are you worried about right now? And then doing actually field experiences based on the courses that they're teaching. So sort of actual professional learning in there. School districts, and I'm going to talk about this a little bit later. I'm trying to go through this quickly. They have to pay for the teacher, which is really expensive. And that's kind of been the crux for us this year. We started with 11 programs and down to 6 for this summer because of school district funding. And if you have questions about that, we can talk later. But they pay for the teacher, they hire them, they pay for transportation and food. It's like any of you who have K-12 programs within your conservation district, it's kind of a similar thing to that. And the community partner Eleni is going to talk about the place. They know all the places to go. They know all the people to talk to, and they bring out other people and have those field sites that those kids can actually go out and do that work outside. Okay, so we built these courses as an organization, and we kind of wanted to make sure that we were following some suit to do that. And so that we can say that, yes, we vetted these really well. So we did some research on what did the industry that we're talking about actually look like. Do we need to spend time and money writing these frameworks or not? And so we talked to industry, we talked to community colleges and universities, we make sure tribal input statewide is being brought in to make sure it's possibly responsive and responsible. And obviously, teachers that are currently teaching are being brought in and being able to give us best management practices for the courses. Right now, our program available, we have extension ecology, forest management, and the lead I'm really excited about, kind of like a teaching academy, thinking about having high schoolers learn how to teach, but outside, education throughout the learning, it's a brand new one. And we're also working on aquaculture and fisheries and urban and community forestry. And I have to give a plug, Spokane Conservation District, they're actually our funders to write urban and forestry frameworks. Okay. All right, I talked to a lot. I think it's really important to know too, if you're having conversations about something like this, there is a second step for the high schoolers. So there is a second pathway if kids want to come back and take it again. So all of our units, for the most part, are going to line up to each other. So if there's a second year kid, they can get a different credit. So these kids, I know that your conservation district employees, but they can get CT, career and education credit, science credit, or even ELA credit, depending on their school and the program that they're doing. So it's really opening a breadth for kids. They can take this more than 1 year and get different credits to help them graduate and for those pathways. Obviously, we start with safety before handing hand tools. Right?
Okay, awesome. Thank you. So that was a little bit of a broad level overview of what the YES program is and some of the different partners that would contribute to a YES program. In the summer of 2023, Snohomish Conservation District was the community partner in our YES program. So we helped connect students with field sites. We collaborated with a skills center, Snow Isle Tech Skills Center. They provided the teacher. And then we also worked with Snohomish School District. They provided a school and kind of the classroom space where we would host the program. And then PEI was the overall coordinator. And I wanted to call out all of these different partners because you don't necessarily need the teacher to come from the school where you want to host the program. You might have a school with some really awesome on-campus restoration options, and then have another teacher from a different school district that is really committed to this type of work and wants to dedicate their summer to a program like this. So you can kind of patchwork, figure something out, and PEI is really good at being the umbrella to kind of bring everyone together and help you find whatever missing piece you might be facing if you want to put together one of these programs. And we had 11 students. They were all high school students. They were all delightful and awkward and a little bit angsty, maybe a lot angsty. We did so much with them. We spent 8-hour days with them for 5 weeks. 3 days out of every week, they're in the field with me or somebody else from Snohomish CD. And then they spent Monday and Friday in the classroom with their teacher, kind of reaffirming some of the things that they were out in the field doing in a hands-on way. So they did a lot of field work. They removed invasive plants. They did some native planting at a little site on campus. Summer is not a great time for planting native species or species, but we did find a place where they could water and kind of ensure that those plants survived. They did water quality testing, plant surveying, they removed like the hugest blackberry bushes you could ever imagine. And they also stomped a lot of reed canary grass, and they claimed that they were starved for life because of the amount of reed canary grass they stomped. But they did a really good job. And this is one of our students, there's just water in there that's a totally clean, unused herbicide sprayer, but we were teaching them kind of like, what are some of the precautions we want to take, why would we use herbicide, when is it appropriate, when is it not appropriate, and then we let them get a little hands-on practice with the sprayer, and they actually watered the plants that they had planted on school. That's what the sprayer. So as I said, on Monday and Friday, they were in the classroom. They were learning a lot of general environmental science topics, the things that I imagine all our CD educators are teaching about. But they also had an on-site restoration plot that they worked on in groups. And over the course of the program, they were developing a restoration plan for that plot. Everything from cataloging what are the native and invasive species on there, what do we want to remove, what kind of plants would we ideally want to plant in the fall. So they made a full-blown restoration plan. They were estimating what would the labor cost be if we had a crew doing this. We really wanted them thinking through the entirety of that process. And then we also did some application skills building. They learned about building resumes, a little bit about interviewing, because we ideally want them to enter the field of conservation, however they choose in the future. And a lot of professional development. They got to work with tons of people from our education team, our habitat restoration team. They also worked with people from DNR and other organizations. So just seeing how you can be involved in conservation and have a million different jobs. You don't have to be in the field stopping reed canary grass, which they were very excited to hear. There's many different things you can do. And our students earned a stipend, high school CTE credit, and volunteer hours. So they, got a lot out of it. And what did each partner do? We facilitated the field work. So 3 days a week for 5 weeks. We picked places for them to go. We decided what they would do for about 6 hours on each of those sites. We also purchased the gear for students, which was a full effort unto itself. PEI oversaw the program, and the stipends for our gear. We'll see what that looks like in the future. And then Snohomish Tech provided the teacher and oversaw kind of teacher accreditation and some of those things in that realm. And then Snohomish School District provided the classroom, and then their maintenance staff helped kind of throw away the blackberry that students had removed and do some of that labor. This is a bullfrog where we learned about invasive amphibians that almost escaped. So we did almost reintroduce it into the wild. It's terrifying. And then a little bit more about our role. Here is that horrific reed canary grass that I mentioned. You can see the joy just oozing out of the pores. So 1 field site per week, 3 field days per week. It was about 18 hours of field work every week and other outdoor activities. We connected students with tons of conservation professionals. I worked really closely with our lead teacher to develop the curriculum for the whole 5 weeks, which was really great. So it was cohesive, classroom and field work components really meshed well. And then I worked with the lead teacher to determine students' credit and their stipend amount, because we had an agreement with the students that if they weren't performing at 100%, they weren't going to get 100% credit or 100% of the stipend, just like any job. So some successes, students got to try so many new hands-on restoration skills, everything from removing invasives to designing educational signage. They just really got to explore a whole lot of different things within the umbrella of conservation. They also did it in the summer heat. So we learned about taking care of ourselves, sunscreen, water, kind of self-management when you're in challenging environments. They were really good at discussing water quality by the end. They were like, we do not need an hour for this activity. They did it in like 15 minutes. So they really are internalizing what we were learning about, because they were in the field seeing these streams and being like, this looks disgusting. And then they would get the data to kind of support that. So that was really neat to see that grow. They got also very good at identifying native and invasive plants. They cleared a ton of invasive blackberry from their school. And they made these really beautiful restoration plans that later student volunteers actually implemented in the fall. So their plans were put into action, which is really awesome. This wasn't just a thought exercise, it had a real impact on their campus. Some challenges, our students were very quiet. This was summer school-esque. This was my first venture into summer school, not summer camp or like things where you're perhaps a little more voluntary with your presence. And so students were really quiet. It was just a challenge that you face when you have, you know, whatever the particular dynamics of that student group, you're always going to have, you know, things that you have to sort out with them. But I feel like we got to a decent place. The difference between week 1 and week 5 was astounding to me. It was still very quiet, but it was much better. Since it was our first year doing it, there's a lot of partners involved in this. It can be a little tricky kind of deciding who is responsible for all of the different things that have to happen to get this program running. I'm very excited to do this again next summer because I think now I just kind of know how to do it. Chelsea's been in her role longer, so it felt like our summer we were just kind of figuring it out as we went. But definitely having strong boundaries with here's what I'm responsible with. The lead teacher is responsible for this. The school administrators are responsible for that. It just makes sure that nothing falls through the cracks. That was especially pertinent when communicating with parents. I think because there's a stipend involved, parents are very motivated for their students to get that full stipend. So are the students, but the parents seem even more so. And so just making sure that you have someone whose responsibility it is to communicate with parents if there's a performance issue so that nobody's surprised if credit or stipend amounts are not 100%.
And I'm just gonna interject and say, because this is not the first time I've heard this from last summer, that is solely responsibility of school district to talk to parents and not community partner. There's a lot of other things that community partners and I can't even know about that child and the school district's only to know that.
Good boundaries. Yeah, we got some feedback from the students that some of the fieldwork felt monotonous. There's only so much you can do in the summer. And I think too, depending on where you have funding to work, that can limit what you're able to do that summer. But we took that feedback in stride and we were able to make things more variable as we went. And I think just going into it and knowing that they don't need to be an expert in every single thing. They don't need the 10,000 hours of practice to just expose them to a wide variety of things, and that will keep them a little bit more engaged. And like everything that we do, funding all our prep and coordination time is challenging. And I think just trying to work it into other programming or other funding sources in the future would be helpful. And I wanted to show some photos so you can kind of get a sense of what this looks like. We did a lot of water quality monitoring at a bunch of different rivers and a pond throughout our 5 weeks, and students could interpret that water quality. In the middle, so gross that water is, we actually found a fish when I swam that same water, which was incredible. We did some forest surveys, so they learned some basic ways to kind of identify trees, to measure the diameter at breast height, and do some kind of fundamental forestry things that they might apply in another program or in work later on. They built a beaver dam analog, which is really cool. So they got to work with our Washington Conservation Corps to build this device that mimics a beaver dam and helps slow river flow and improve water quality and yeah, make this more viable habitat for native fish and other species. It was very hot, so we just enticed them with the cool, murky waters of Tributary 80, and they were happy to get in there. They also took a first aid course, and on the middle and the right, you can see them practicing plant ID with some dried leaves, some leaf litter, and then some greenery that they plucked off of their campus. And these are their restoration plots. You can see on the left, they use that pink flagging to try to denote each section. That was full of blackberry you could not see the fence. And then you can see on the right, that's 1 day's work. So they heaved out of the ground many of those piles of blackberry. And once they had removed it, they made a restoration plan, and these are planted and look gorgeous. And I will hand it back up.
They're doing a lot of things about, takes a lot of funding to get these programs going. I'm gonna get to that in a minute, but I kind of want to show the progression, I guess. So it started in 2021 with the highlighting program, and for you to a minute kind of look at it. The golden is the first year that program
did happen, or hopefully is going to happen, or is happening. I empathize with them because some of them like fighting. We're going to happen in the past, but didn't. So all of the ones that are televised in 2025 were supposed to happen this summer, but because of school district funding and other things going on in that system, they could not happen this summer. Yeah, so we've grown a lot, and I think that's sort of like figuring out, you know, I've been in my role for about a year and a half, so my first summer was last summer, and kind of seeing everything happen, and with the funding aspect of school districts really taking a hit right now, we've learned a lot. And one being a former teacher and remote educator, I was worked for Okanagan City, and I taught in Okanagan. I want this to be statewide. I want every school to have access to this, right? I don't want just that one school district that reaches out and has that one community partner already lined up. That's not equitable, and that's kind of how it's happened, but that's how grassroots programs start, right? So we had to start somewhere. And you know, if there's something you're thinking about, like, man, we already have really good things set up for this, reach out to me, maybe in the future, and we can work together on this, because we are asking the legislature for a whole bunch of money. So we kind of tried and worked on that a little bit last year. We got some extra funding for one of our provisos, but not the yes proviso. But this year we're actually writing a yes bill. And on average, you know, teachers have a whole span of how much they get paid, and all of us do. Everyone involved has a huge variety going on. But on average, it's about $160,000 to run with these programs for PI time, community partner time, and school district funding. And we're trying to fund all of it to make it more sustainable. So that we're not writing grants full time, and nobody else is writing grants. And hopefully we're thinking for 2026, like I showed on this slide, we'll be at 14 programs, so 12 of them will be funded through the state legislature. Those two Spokane programs, actually, there's funding for those for 3 to 5 years for the yes programs with Spokane CD. That's super awesome that we were able to get that with them. And then 2077, we're hoping to have 18 programs, which is a lot of programs, a lot of money. And hopefully there's gonna be another one of me working for PEI by that point. But something I have this map on here, and you know, we're in Central Washington up there in the morning right now, but our office is in Olympia, and people, you know, our organization. I was part of the Fieldstone first like implementation about 18 years ago, and there's only 5 people working for PEI, and now there's 19 of us. So we're starting to trickle in Eastern Washington and making a really big expanse. But our programs are mostly huge at Sound Centered right now. There is one east is in Whatcom, and we're trying really hard. My personal goal, being the lead for it, is that the regions that don't have programs right now or have a least amount get more of that. Same ones. And I kind of threw some of these out, but building all of those courses, we get through Connect Washington. Program builder funding that's pays for about 90% of my job. And for ecology, I think.
Yeah, the DOE funded, Department of Ecology funded most of our community partner time.
And that increase that I talked about, so we have had 2 big chunks within EI, we built some proviso, and that's all funded through state legislature that goes through as EI, then comes to us to help support school districts or DOE partners. And so I so school district with people helping out with the program for sites. They have to pay for the teacher salary and transportation and everything. Any questions? I know it's kind of like, yes, yes.
Did you have these students who were like in danger of not getting 100% of their stipend?
Yeah, we had 2 different situations. We had 2 students who were from an alternative high school where they spent 4 hours a day in the classroom. And they were like, this is too many hours a day. Our brains don't work like this. And so we talked with them and we were like, okay, well, you can make up some time doing XYZ, or you can just like, we'll basically prorate the credit and the stipend depending on what you feel that you're able to attend. And so we worked that out with them and it was very easy. We did have one student who had some behavioral challenges and I specifically had many conversations with her and it was like great to talk to her. She understood. She was like, if I don't get full credit, I don't get full credit. And that was okay too. But that was an instance where the lead teacher should have communicated that with her parent and it was not communicated. And so her parent was like, what is going on? Why is my beautiful angel child not getting 100% of the stipend? I was like, they are beautiful angel child and also there's a little bit of problem happening. And so, yeah, so I think that was an example where we were having the conversations in class and I felt like we had a good understanding with the student, but then those conversations were not being relayed to the parent and just making sure that the parent was involved would have made that a non-issue. It was not an issue, but it just would have made sure that we were all on the same page. Check time.
And something we're encouraging programs to do now is have a parent learning meeting like 2 weeks or so before their program starts, and just everyone get on the same page about transportation. This is the people that your kid's gonna be with all summer and that kind of stuff. That's it.
So I've helped out with the Tumwater one of this, and I'm gonna be going again like with them. And so this program's or I saw it be very successful there. And I have a bunch of questions that I'd love to chat with you about, maybe after this, but so how much did you say you cost like the cost of like all the parts?
All the parts in the program, we estimate around 160 grand. And that includes like prepping and planning and everything, not just implementation.
160. Okay.
But that's also split between PEI, like we funded our time, the school district, so that wouldn't be something that a conservation district is.
No, well, so I'm curious about like, and there's like a push to serve these like underserved communities. And to me, the only schools that would be able to cover like staff time are ones that might be in areas that don't necessarily have those underserved communities. And so like, is there any other like levers for schools to pull to like find funding for that, just like recognizing that we can't get like subs for schools right now. And so like, I don't know how they're gonna.
And we kind of started going that skill center route and skill centers. So these are built as parent technical education system courses, but they have equivalencies in science and math and things that they get other credit. And we were kind of alluded maybe skill centers that already have natural resource pathways going on in summer because they get CTE funding specifically to run courses over the summer would be the way to go. And since unfortunately skill centers are connected to school districts, that's been a little bit tougher for some of them. That's unfortunately why Snohomish the program's not running this summer. But Tumwater is connected to the market, and I don't know all the ins and outs of that relationships. I have a little bit more of my time, and Brian and Matt just figured it all out. But they're good to go. And I think because there's also a weird caveat that if the school district is not in session and they're not hosting a natural resource. So school districts and school centers cannot teach the same courses if they're in the same consortium. So they have like some competition. Let's talk. There's a lot of like weird relationships between this kind of stuff. But funding is definitely the biggest barrier, and obviously reaching this sort of thing for certain communities is a lot harder. There's not a lot of money.
The teachers also.
Teachers, if the kids are getting credit, the teacher has to be there the full entire time. There is ways to get around it if like something happens or they had something planned for like 2 days, another person could step in as the substitute teacher, but it's expected if they be there the whole time. Okay, so
so you had a possible on there and Whatcom program lately Pacific and he years ago did basically like a literature review of what all the resources around salmon, curriculum, and something. And basically not that resources they used to live and share. I'm taking on it because you I'm curious if there would be a focus on building home. I know you have.
Yeah, are you asking about like K-12 integration of everything? Yeah, that's kind of our goal for all school districts. So, I was a part of a pilot for forestry education at the Snohomish School District last year. And they're a really small school district. They have 40 kids total, K-12. And so we're talking all the teachers and paraeducators, and the goal was for them in the next 2 years to have a YES program. So they're learning forestry as they're getting older, and then they have something to look forward to, all the things that they're learning. Some schools are really good at it, but with coming from the school districts, you kind of need admin buy-in across the board to allow the teachers to leave school or have the time to communicate with each other. So instead of just having those like gold star teachers that want to do all the things. Yeah, but we can talk about that more, and I can connect you and we can work on that for sure. I can talk about this stuff for hours, so.
I just wanted to say that the YES program is so fun. It was so awesome to get 5 weeks and a lot of face-to-face time with these students, because so much of our programming at least is more one-off or week-long lesson series. And to be able to spend that time with students and learn what they're interested in and tailor the course as we went so that we could introduce topics and kind of learning styles or anything that felt relevant to them. It was really amazing and invigorated me as an educator. So I know that the price tag is like really big and scary, but PEI is working on that. And I can also talk about some of the different funding sources that we use to cover our implementation and planning time. But I think if you have good connections with teachers or school districts and the capacity over the summer, it's a really awesome program to explore and think about for maybe 2026, when hopefully this legislative proviso is approved.
Yeah, if you want to support the bill at all, please reach out and.
Well, thanks everyone.